Hello Africa, a very good evening and a warm welcome to yet another informative episode of your favorite Pan-African show, Bottomline Africa. It is Thursday, the 15th day of February 2018. It's been very busy in Africa, politically speaking. And shortly I'm going to tell you more the political development in South Africa, Zimbabwe, as well as Ethiopia. We have our best political analyst with us in studio. We have Mark Bichachi, who is a political communication consultant. I'm also going to speak to Javas Bigambo, who is a governance expert. And joining me all the way from the south of the continent is Dewa Maringa from the Human Rights Watch. And to tell us more on the Ethiopia's political situation, I'm going to speak to Fiseha Tekle. Clearly, we have a jam-packed program for you tonight. Once again, this is Bottomline Africa in the headlines tonight. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn resigns as both head of government and the ruling coalition in a surprise move. Cyril Ramaphosa takes over the leadership of South Africa as the country's fifth black president following a unanimous endorsement by Parliament.
I do not fear exiting political office.
South Africa awakes to a new dawn post Jacob Zuma after a late-night decision to avoid a no-confidence vote by resigning. And tonight we are asking, is there a wind of change sweeping across the continent? We'll dig in on the latest political developments. The program begins right now, and that last bit on our highlights forms the basis of our Twitter poll question tonight, and we are asking you, do you believe there is a wave of political change sweeping across Africa? Do you think or do you believe there is a wave of political change sweeping across Africa, bearing in mind what took place in Zimbabwe a while back, South Africa, as well as Ethiopia? We've seen, two of the leaders there resigning from their office. We'd like to hear your view on this. Our Twitter handle is at KTN News. You can as well tweet me at Yusuf Ibra. The hashtag, as usual, is Bottomline Africa. And definitely, I'm going to go through some of the feedback within the program. But for now, let me begin with our top story tonight. And the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Haile Mariam Desalegn, has resigned amid deadly anti-government protest. In a televised address, he said his resignation was vital in the bid to carry out reforms that will lead to sustainable peace and democracy. Haile Mariam, who has led the country since 2012, also stepped down as the chairman of the ruling coalition. His departure follows a national state of emergency that ended last year. Ethiopia's largest regions, Oromia and Amhara, have seen waves of demonstrations in recent months. In the latest violence, 10 people were killed and dozens more injured following an opposition protest. The country has witnessed repeated violent clashes since 2015, with protesters calling for political and economic reform and an end to state corruption. The ongoing disturbances have led to deep divisions in the governing coalition. Some of Ethiopia's powerful elites have come to see the Prime Minister as weak and lacking in direction. I'm going to speak to Fiseha Tekle shortly. He's from the Amnesty International Ethiopia, and he's going to tell us whether the human rights record there might worsen off or it might be better with whoever's going to take up Haile Mariam's position in the near future. Now, let's take a look at who Haile Mariam is exactly, some sort of his profile, and we're going to have that infographic shortly on your screen. And apparently was born in July 1965 in the Boloso Sore district in the Walayita zone in southern Ethiopia. And he served as Prime Minister of Ethiopia from the year 2012 and previously served as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs in Ethiopia. And he served under Prime Minister Meles Zenawi from 2010 to 2012. After Meles' death in August 2012, Haile Mariam succeeded him as a Prime Minister. And then he was elected as the chair of the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF, a position he also resigned from today. And also served as the chairperson of the African Union from the year 2013 to 2014. Remember, the headquarters of the African Union is based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. He also submitted his resignation as Prime Minister, as I've already told, of Ethiopia and EPRDF chairperson on 15th February, that is today, 2018, due to mass protest and unrest in that country. So there is his political profile, a man who resigned today from his position. Now, the resignation came only hours after thousands of Ethiopians celebrated in Adama city on Wednesday after a senior opposition leader was released from prison and all charges against him were dropped. Bekele Garba, Secretary General of the Oromo Federalist Congress, well known as OFC, addressed thousands of his supporters and asked them to continue with their peaceful protest until all political prisoners were released. Bekele was arrested in December 2015 after mass protests broke out in the Oromia region over accusations of farmers were being forced to sell land with scant compensation. He had been held initially on terrorism charges, which were later reduced to charges of incitement to violence. Bekele's release came amid a 3-day strike across Oromia province, which surrounds the capital, as well as mass pardoning of dissidents by the government aimed at reducing unrest that has simmered since the year 2015.
Our struggle should not stop until no single prisoner fighter for his rights is left in this federal prison. They should be free. It's not enough to free one or two. They should be set free. Those who are fighting for truth, justice, and equality, they should be free one by one from the house of death.
All prisoners should be freed, and the places where these prisoners are tortured should be converted to places for public development. They should stop being places of torture now.
I come here to express my happiness. The truth is finally prevailing. I came here for no other reasons than to express my intense happiness.
I am extremely happy because when they arrested him 2 years ago, they picked him up with 5 patrols, and now he came back home with hundreds of thousands of supporters by his left side.
Of course, that is when one of the political figures there was released, and we're getting reports that today Oromia protesters celebrated a victory that many say is unprecedented in Africa's history after they peacefully forced one of the most powerful regimes on the continent home. Or is it the case? Now, many questions have been raised on what is going to happen next. And now I'm joined via way of Skype by Fiseha Tekle from the Amnesty International Ethiopian chapter. Good evening, Fiseha. Now, let me begin with my first question. Will the change of guard there in Ethiopia, does it necessarily mean that things might be rosy, things might be better, speaking from the human rights point of view?
Yeah, the situation in Ethiopia is not certain right now. As you can see, what has changed is the Prime Minister. The Parliament is still 100% in control of the EPRDF, the ruling party that has been leading the country since 1991. So the resignation of the Prime Minister can be one sign of change in the country, but the political context has not changed. It's the same political party which is in control of the country. So we are not sure if the resignation is going, what the resignation is going to entail. Will there be a new prime minister? Will the parliament be disbanded? And how will the people accept his resignation? All these things are not certain. So right now, the future is not that much clear, not only from human rights perspective, but also politically. So the coming...
Well said, Tekele. Fiseha. And apparently, there are those who were released, the political detainees, apparently, among them Bekele Garba's release was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? There's Merera Gudina, the opposition leader from the Oromia region. I mean, how many other opposition leaders are in jail, and what will be, their fate now that we're seeing a change in the leadership of Ethiopia?
Yeah, that's, the next stage, we expect the government to also to continue the release of prisoners of conscience in the country. There are so many people who are still in prison. who are prisoners of conscience, like Dr. Fikrumaru, Jonathan, and some other names. So we only know like the prominent ones, but thousands are still there. And those who have been released have been emphasizing that there are still so many people still in prison. So,
yes, Fisea, one final question before I release you. Let's talk about the Tigray. These are the ruling class, apparently, and the minority in that country. We're getting reports that they have, reportedly relocated in large numbers from the Amhara and Oromia region. Is that the case first? And if that's the case, will that even escalate tension, perhaps, in Ethiopia?
That's an information which is quite new for me. And I cannot confirm or deny that.
Thank you very much, Fisea Tekla, for your input. Fisea is from the Amnesty International in Ethiopia. Now, let me take you down south, that is in South Africa. And Cyril Ramaphosa is sworn in as president, or has been sworn in as president of South Africa after Jacob Zuma, tarred by scandal, was forced from office. Now, South Africa's parliament on Thursday chose Cyril Ramaphosa as anti-apartheid activist who became a wealthy businessman to be president after Jacob Zuma, of course, was tarred by scandal and was forced out of office. Let's take a look at that story first.
The Honorable Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. The nomination is in order. Accordingly, in terms of item 5 of Part A of Schedule 3 to the Constitution, I declare the Honorable Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa duly elected President of the Republic of South Africa. To adapt to the environment I'm not used to in a court of law, no singing is allowed. Honorable Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, congratulations on your election as the President of the Republic of South Africa.
On behalf of the ANC, nominate Honorable Acting President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa to be elected as the President of the Republic of South Africa.
Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa is the candidate of the ANC as President. Acting President Ramaphosa is a revolutionary cadre.
Now, earlier, the new South African president used his first speech in office to vow to fight government corruption in a direct reference to accusations leveled against his predecessor, Jacob Zuma. Now, South African lawmakers formally named Ramaphosa the only candidate as new president after scandal-tainted Zuma resigned under intense pressure from the ruling ANC party. Ramaphosa, a wealthy former businessman, will deliver his first State of the Nation address on Friday.
So that all of us, it does not only behove on the President. I thank you for the honor that you bestow on me by electing me to this position. I truly feel humbled to have been given this great privilege of being able to serve our people. I do believe that when one is elected in this type of position, you basically become a servant of the people of South Africa. And I'll seek to execute that task with humility, with faithfulness, and with dignity as well. That is what I will seek to do. I will seek to work with all political parties, and we'll start it off We'll start it off with wanting to have a meeting with the leaders of all political parties so that we can try and find a way of working together. Issues that have to do with corruption, issues of how we can straighten out our state-owned enterprises, and how we deal with state capture are issues that are on our radar screen. Those are issues that we're going to be addressing, and tomorrow we will also have an opportunity to outline some of the steps that we are going to be taking.
Still in South Africa, even as members of parliament showered praise on the newly elected president, a section of the opposition led by firebrand politician Julius Malema staged a walkout claiming the country's constitution had been violated. The EFF members chanted as they entered parliament, saying they will not be participating in the election of the president.
Try to go here. Try to go down.
An illegitimate, illegal process. And Mr. Ramaphosa, things like Lindiwe Zulu, if you listen to them, you must ask the one who came before you. He listens to ill advice from illiterates, like things like this. Not be unacceptable when Zuma violated the constitution, and be acceptable when constitution is violated by parliament. So we do not agree with what is happening in this parliament. As a result, we will not be participating in the election of the president because it's an illegal activity.
Now, the immediate former South African President Jacob Zuma resigned Wednesday, a day before the parliament there was expected to pass a no-confidence vote to remove him from power. Also Wednesday, the country's elite police unit raided the home of a controversial business family linked to the embattled president. The raid is seen as part of the pressure to force Zuma to stand down then after 9 years in power.
For years, Zuma's opponents have demanded his resignation and an investigation into fraud and corruption allegations against him. He has survived several no-confidence votes in the parliament with the support of his African National Congress party. But this time, the lawmakers of the ruling ANC have made it clear he has lost their support. The opposition welcomed the decision.
As you know, we've been calling all week for this motion to be fast-tracked. I think that all parties are united in wanting to remove President Zuma and to start writing a new chapter.
Faced with a forcible ouster, Zuma announced his voluntary resignation in a televised address to the nation Wednesday.
I do not fear exiting political office. However, I have only asked my party to articulate my transgressions, and the reason for its immediate instruction that I vacate office.
Zuma's rule was marred with scandals, and many South Africans wanted him impeached for using state funds to renovate his private country home. On Wednesday, the police raided the luxury home of the Indian-born Gupta family of rich entrepreneurs with alleged corrupt links to the president.
Finally, something's being done about it. Yeah. And, these guys must get out of our country. They must leave us alone. They've done enough damage now.
The ANC issued a statement saying Zuma's resignation provided certainty to the people of South Africa. The former ANC fighter who rose through the party ranks to become president is leaving the country's economy in tatters. For some people, this was the main reason they wanted to see him go.
I really believe that he should step down because I want South Africa, just like other South Africans, I believe, I want him to step down and resign so that we can have a better South Africa and, basically. more jobs and everything else that he wasn't doing for us.
Zuma is replaced by his deputy Cyril Ramaphosa, who was elected as ANC's new leader in December. Zlatica Ho, VOA News, Washington.
Now, top politicians of Zimbabwe's opposition party have paid tribute to the leader of the Movement for Democratic Change, known as MDC, Morgan Tsvangirai, describing him as a statesman who redefined politics on the African continent. Arguably, Zimbabwe's most popular politician, Tsvangirai died on Wednesday evening, aged 65, after a long battle with cancer. His death in a South African hospital cast his MDC party into unknown territory less than just 6 months before elections, the first in Zimbabwe that will not feature 93-year-old Mugabe. Nelson Chamisa, who took the role of acting president following Tsvangirai's death, told media that a total victory in the upcoming election will be the best gift to the former leader. In political terms, the ruling ZANU-PF party and Mnangagwa, who paid a personal visit to Tsvangirai in January, stand to gain from the opposition leader's death due to fighting within the MDC over who shall succeed its founding father.
A comrade who has been taking charge of this movement for the past 18 years, a man who has changed the face of politics in Zimbabwe, a man who has redefined politics on the African continent, a man who has not just been a statesman, but a man who has also been a patriot, a man who has been a Democrat, a man who was everything, an icon, a revolutionary, patriotic, all rolled in one man. This is the man we have lost. It's not an easy moment for the country, for the party, for the leadership. But what we can assure you is that his legacy is very much in safe hands at various levels. Our only gift to President Richard Morgan Tsvangirai is our total victory at the election. Our only gift to President Morgan Tsvangirai is the convergence of all the democratic forces, making sure that we unite progressive forces in Zimbabwe in a grand coalition that will be able to give a fighting chance to the people of Zimbabwe.
Now, let's get a break from the South African part of this continent with regards to the political development. Now, over to the Congo, where over 22,000 people fled Congo to Uganda last week, following a surge of ethnic violence in the northeast, raising the total number of arrivals to about 34,000 since the start of the year, according to the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR. Now, at least 30 people have been killed in fighting between Hema herders and Lendu farmers in the province of Ituri this month, echoing clashes that killed thousands of Hema and Lendu during a civil war that ended in 2003. The UNHCR reported that the refugees are crossing Africa's 7th largest lake in Kano and overcrowded fishing boats, a journey that can take up to 10 hours. 4 refugees drowned last Sunday after the canoe on which they had been stranded for 2 days capsized. Over 120,000 Congolese fled to neighboring countries last year after President Joseph Kabila refused to step down at the end of his mandate in December 2016. His decision sparked a wave of unrest, raising fears that the mineral-rich Central African country was slipping back into civil war.
Maiti ya bandugu wetu tunaona na macho, na ya pili tunaona watu wamekata na mupanga.
The situation is quite dire. There's a lack of water, lack of food, lack of medical equipment, lack of shelter.
Now, snails are eaten in large quantities in West Africa, where they are considered a delicacy, but most people do not know how to clean them. Now, one entrepreneur is readily doing that, or doing the job of processing snails and selling them through a profitable business. Selling cleaned and processed snails is proving to be a successful enterprise in Cameroon, where the molluscs are already considered a nutrition delicacy.
All started coincidentally because I have a friend who doesn't eat beef and really is not a fan of chicken. So she called on me one time to tell me, hey, please, I have somebody traveling to the States. Can you help me do me a large quantity of snails so that it's going to last for a long time? And I was like, okay, sure, I will do it for you. So when I was doing the snails, I actually took out my phone. I took pictures of the work. It was a large quantity, I think about 10 buckets. So I took pictures and I saved them in my phone. I sent the snails to her. And weeks later, I got bored one day and I was on my bed and I just took out my phone. I said, these pictures, let me just put on Facebook. Yeah, I just said, okay, I uploaded them and I was like, okay, if you're interested in snails, contact me. It was a joke. Honestly, it was a joke. I wasn't serious because I didn't have snails at home. Neither was I like expecting any results. So the moment I put it online, I realized within an hour, my phone kept on beeping, notifications, messages.
Since I start work with Auntie Nina, it not make me I get stressed again too much because that way I not be there with you. When I come, I go sell on market, it give me stress. But now I there with you, I not to get over stress. As I just bring and say job me job and they just walk them.
And it's very easy for you to get it within 24 hours when you call. The services are very reliable. You can just sit at home and you make, just from a phone call, and the next day the snails are being delivered to you wherever you are. So that bridges the gap of going to the market and searching in and out of season. When you call her, you always have it. But unlike off-season, like now, when you go to the market, you will not be able to find snails, especially the ones that have been processed.
That story on snail entrepreneurs takes us to a very short break. We'll be right back after this very short break. And of course, we are going to have that studio discussion. Stay with us.